All right, and welcome back to the Naturalista Experience. Loves, as you know, we have a special guest on the show today. He is a wonderful poet, published author. He's going to share with us some things about his life and what inspired him to become the amazing, talented author that he is today. Get ready to be amazed, loves, by C.L. Brown.
Hey, hey,
Hello,
Katy, how
my
you
brother.
doing?
Welcome to the show. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing beautiful. How are you?
I am great, thank you. And CL, we're so happy to have you on the Naturalista Experience today. We can't wait to get to know more about you.
I'm so I'm so grateful. First of all, to be here on the show. So I want to thank you first and foremost for reaching out and for making this possible. Um,
Definitely.
and yeah, I'm
Yes.
excited. So
Me too. Me too. Me too, CL. And so, of course, just to get everybody a little bit more familiar with you, I just want to ask, who are you and what do you do? So, who is CL Brown?
so C.L. Brown. That's a question that I've contemplated for a long time, and it seems every time I think I have an answer, it changes. Something happens. Something moves. Um,
Right.
but I think at the heart of it, I think I'm a spiritual person, a spiritually awoken person, um, a very loving and kind person, someone who tries to see the good in the world.
Mhm.
Um, I'm a person who I think sometimes I bear a lot of burdens because I sort of take on to myself situations and things that people go through in the world, social injustices and stuff like that. So it's one of those things where I feel like I'm always evolving, um,
Definitely.
and always growing. But I think at the very base, I would say I'm a new father. I'm about to have my first daughter in about 3 weeks.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Um, so I'm excited about that. That's another dimension to who I am. Um, I'm a brother. I'm an uncle. I'm a friend. I love nature. I'm a nature lover. I love music, and just an all around loving, kind person who loves to talk and loves to talk about deep and spiritual things.
Oh, that's beautiful, CL. I love that because you know what? Spirituality, that's what makes everyone whole. And everybody needs to, be in tune with their spiritual self. I mean, because usually when you can connect with your spiritual self, it helps you to better connect with those around you. And, it's a
Absolutely.
blessing, that you're going to be a new father. That is such a blessing. And I wish you the best and the utmost miracles, anything that can come your way on that. I really, really do.
Oh, thank you so much.
You're very welcome, love. And so, of course, next up, what is it that you do, or why do you do what you do? Actually, as far as with your writing, and even anything else that you may do, like why do you do what you do?
So as far as the writing is concerned, I remember when I was somewhere in my 20s. I
Hmm.
again because I feel the things in the world that's happening, and I felt like I wanted to make a positive impact on the world, and so
Hmm.
I literally told myself that before I leave this world, I was going to change it, and I wasn't quite sure how because my background as far as career, I'm a software engineer, software developer. Um,
Okay.
so I didn't really see how I was going to change the world doing that. But I was determined to. And later on, a few years later, um, I started to write. I was about 30 years old at the time. And of course, at first it was just writing on social media, just writing on Facebook. And as time went on, I started to realize that people were being impacted by the things I was saying. Post
Right.
random things and people would comment and say, oh, that was just for me. I needed to hear that. And so I just kept writing. And a few years in, people started, asking me to write a book. And I just kind of felt like I wasn't good enough for a book. I kind of felt like, who would even pay to hear the things that I have to say, you know. But I kept writing anyway, and in the course of time, I started to see that my gift with words was actually making an impact in people's lives. And in fact, I started to see that, you know, that was one of my ways, if you will, of changing the world. You know, so as I realized that, I started to develop it more and more. And at first it was just like, I think at first I was just doing it sort of for the attention, you know, I think. But then it came to a place where I started realizing that what I had was sort of like medicine. And it became a journey where it was like, this is how you can make a difference in the world. You can change people's perspective, you know, about themselves, about their surroundings. And after posting on social media, and, you know, I'd have people from Nigeria, people from Trinidad, people from Jamaica here in the U.S., and they'll reach out to me and tell me how much their lives are impacted. You know, people reach out to me for relationship questions and stuff like that. And it just made me realize what a powerful tool and gift that I had. And so now my reason for continuing to do it is just that, is, you know, continuing to make an impact. And because there's just so many negative things around this world, you know.
Yes, there really is.
Right here, it's in your neighborhood, in your household, you know, in other countries. And I think sometimes we just need to look in and remember the principal things and the important things and the small things. You know, one of those things being love, that is so much overlooked, you know. So it's sort of my mission to just continue to write and to just, I guess, you know, sort of work God's will through my words, you know, and making a change in this world.
Definitely understand. It's almost like you're walking in his path, you know, like they say, but you're also just following, you know, the lessons that he's teaching you along the way, right? Would you say that's what it is?
Absolutely.
Definitely.
The things that I write, it starts at home, you know, because I really write my emotions, my feelings, my experiences. Some of those are personal experiences. Some of those are things that I've encountered through friends, you know, acquaintances, strangers, you know. So it's really sort of like documenting your story, but realizing that it's not just your story. You know, it's like our story, you know.
And I actually, I can relate to you on that, CL. That's actually what I've done in a lot of, in the two books that I've published as well. And both of my books, they're poetry. So most of the stuff that I've written is either things that I have felt or things that I've experienced at home or things that I've just seen happen around me, you know, and the people that it affected, my friends, whether it's my family or whomever. But it's great, you know, being a writer and being able to express yourself and feeling free to express yourself, and then pretty much making yourself almost vulnerable to the world because you're letting them into your heart and your mind whenever you're, you know, writing things on paper. But at the same time, like you said, you're definitely helping people because a lot of people feel this way and some people feel alone. So it's always great to let them know, hey, you're not alone. You know, we've had this happen to us and this is how you could possibly work through it. So your message always speaks volumes to somebody. And so with that being said, do you feel like, is that what's important to you as a poet, just to help people along the way, spread the love, the joy, the spirituality, or what would you say is important to you as a poet?
That is actually the most important thing.
Yeah.
Because, you know, when I started, well, first when I wrote my first book, and then I started to go out to like poetry spots and open mics, and I would read poetry, and people would come to me and tell me how much they love it or they're impacted, but there wasn't a real passion there for me because I felt like, you know, I had a good job. You know, so the poetry was like just like a hobby. But then you come to a place where you realize that it's more than that, you know. And just to go back to what you said earlier about it being your experiences, you know, my first book, I titled that book Loud Whispers of Silent Souls. And the reason why I chose that title is because when I was writing the pieces, I was really just writing my story, you know. And when I decided to publish it, but first I used to share them on Facebook, and when I realized how many different people all around this world, people from Asia, the Caribbean, and I saw that people were relating to it, I realized that those things that I was saying, they were not unique to me. They were, it was like so many people around this world were going through those things. And there's a lot of people that are afraid to express themselves like that. Some people, they may want to, but they may not know how to, or they feel like they don't know how to. And so I realized that it was collectively, we were all going through these things of love and heartbreak and dealing with death and wanting spiritual growth and self-searching and all these things. So it's the most important thing to me to leave that legacy. I don't do it for the money. I've been out so many places, and I read and people come up and be like, I want to get your book, but I don't have money right now, and I'll just give out books. I've given out so many books I couldn't tell you. Because I just feel like I just get so excited just to share it, and when someone's impacted like that. So for me, it's just to stay true to that and just to write things and keep writing things that's going to make a difference in people's lives. And that's, the most important thing to me.
And that's beautiful. That is very, very beautiful. And then, CL, how do you feel like, being a writer, or are you growing as a writer, has changed you over time? I mean, I know that you said in the beginning that, before you did it, for the attention, but then after a while, you noticed that, you wanted to actually reach people. So how do you feel like you've evolved through your writing, or how do you feel like you have changed?
So with me, with poetry, like when I write poetry, and sometimes I read the things that I wrote, and I ask myself, man, where did this come from? And so it made me to realize, I think poetry and art in itself, it's sort of like an external entity expressing itself through you,
Right.
And so as I was writing things, and you're basically writing your truth, or you're writing truth, but as you're writing it, you yourself start to reflect on the things that you're writing. So it's like your work becomes like a mirror, So if you're writing about love, are you expressing love? If you're writing about spirituality and strength, are you expressing those things in your own life? So as I wrote things, it made me reflect. Because sometimes you could write things, but there's no truth to it because your integrity is not there, right?
Exactly.
So, for example, you could talk about love, but if you're not expressing love, if you're like romantic love, and if you're a womanizer, for example, then you're not writing your truth. So as I write these things, it makes me reflect, and it makes me look into myself and say, well, are you living this way? Because for me, my integrity is so very important to me. And so as I write things come out of me. It's like self-discovery. And then once it's in your face, because sometimes you can have a truth, but if you're not conscious of that truth, then you can't consciously live your truth. But
and
once
that's
it comes
true.
out, then you can look at it and say, well, do I want to live this truth, or just put it out in the world and pretend to be this person? And so for me, it's been changing me personally as much as it's been changing people. So I've evolved. And if you was to read my first book and then my second book and the third book, you can see the transition that's going on in the work itself.
Right. You mean like the growth that you've had, from time to time? Or over time, you've had different growth. And then, too, it's almost like you were saying, your writing can be your accountability piece to kind of put yourself in check. I like how you brought that up, because a lot of people, they do ask, and I don't know if they ask you the same questions, but I know people that, that read my book or excerpts or, whatever else, they always ask, well, did you really go through that, or did you really feel that at this moment? And I'm like, yeah. Let me tell you the story behind it. And so, it's great that you did bring up that point, because a lot of people think that we as writers, that we just come up with the stuff off the top of our head and, that's that. And it's like, no, I actually put some thought in it. I actually lived it. I felt it. I breathed, it came out of my breath, everything.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I'm glad that you brought up that point, because that is something that many people ask whenever reading our works. And it truly is an accountability, for us to make sure that we live by our words that we write, and also the words that we speak, even when we perform. And so also, who would you say that you pretty much identify with as far as like different artists or poets? Is there a particular like genre, person, group that you identify with?
Man, I identify with so many different genres and people, and especially where music is concerned, because, I didn't start writing poetry until I was 30 years old, like 29, 30.
Wow.
I didn't go to poetry events. I didn't read poetry. I had nothing to do with poetry at all. In fact, when I first started writing, I didn't call it poetry. I called it freestyle writing. But I've always loved music since I was a kid. And so now that I'm writing, I find that a lot of times when I'm writing, I'm listening to music, or it's something I heard in a song, And so some of the artists that I identify with, there's tons and tons, because I sort of go through like musical phases, where I go through like the Al Greens and the Otis Reddings, and then I go through the Peter Tosh and the Bob Marleys, and people like, Passenger, or Alabama Shakes, Floyd Vance, Joe Purdy, Valerie June, Ben Harper. So those are some of like the musicians that really inspire my work. A lot of folky music, And as far as poetry is concerned, when I started to actually go out after I started writing, I'll never forget, I saw this lady performing one time, and she was so phenomenal. I never forgot her name, and I'm not good with names. And her name, she's a local she's a local poet from Miami. Her name is Rebecca Vaughn. She goes by the moniker Butterfly.
Oh, wow.
And I saw her perform one night, and not only was she talented, but she was so classy and so soulful and just so real, And I've admired her since. Other poets like Bertrand Boyd, Calvin Early, And my third book, before I wrote my third book, let me go back before that. Early on, when I was writing to show off, if you will, back then, because I've always felt like Spanish is like a very passionate language compared to English, And I speak very, very, very little Spanish, but I had written this poem in Spanish back then, and I sent it to the Spanish girl I was sort of dating, and she sent it to a friend of hers, and that guy came back and told her that, it sounded like a piece from Pablo Neruda. And at the time, I had no idea who Pablo Neruda was. Like I said, I was never into poetry at all. And so I researched him and found out, he was a Chilean poet and diplomat and politician who's famously known, actually, I saw his movie last year sometime. And so, and watching his movie and reading his book also, I could see the similarities in the works. Another poet that I love and I find to inspire, especially my third book, is Rumi. And Rumi is an ancient sage and poet from in the Middle East, from like way back in those days.
Yes.
So those
I like Rumi too.
Yeah, I love Rumi. Is, oh my God, he's incredible. And in fact, when I wrote my second book and started promoting it, and I stopped writing for a while, and I wanted to write again, but it's like I guess I had like writer's block or something. And
we all have it. It happens to all of us every once in a while.
But you know what? I think writer's block is healthy. And the reason why I say that is because I think, like when I look at life, I try to look at life through the eyes of nature. And what you see in nature, you find that everything in nature has seasons. Fruits, there's a season for fruits when a tree bears fruit, and then when there's no fruits on the tree, In fact, if you see a tree that's bearing fruit year round, it's probably a GMO. It's not organic.
Exactly.
And so I think it's important, not important, but I think it's healthy when you write something and you get something out of your spirit and you have a rest period or a rejuvenation period, which we call a writer's block.
Mm-hmm.
And then you come back with something fresh again. So I think that's a good thing. But when I was going through that phase, go ahead.
Oh, no, I'm saying no. Yeah, you're right on that. It is true. You do kind of need a mental break. So I could definitely see how that is a good thing at times. Before I thought it was a curse, but the way that you just explained it, I could see it being a good thing.
Yeah, I think it definitely is. And because too, it's like I feel like we go through phases in life. You know what I mean? And if you keep writing, you might keep saying the same things over and over. You might change it a little bit here and there, but you might keep saying the same things over and over. But I think it's good when you say something and it's relevant for that time and that space that you say it in, and then you come out of that and you go back and you rejuvenate yourself and you come back strong and you come back maybe even different. So
right.
I've learned to embrace. I used to fear it. I used to be terrified of it, but I've learned to embrace it and just kind of run with it.
That's awesome, CL. That's good. So hopefully all the other, writers and poets out there actually heard what CL said. It's a season for your writing. So, when you do hit that writer's block point, don't allow it to make you shut completely down. Don't worry, don't fret, because, again, it will come back. It always comes back. Everybody has a gift, and that gift just needs a break sometimes, and then it just needs a rejuvenation period. But, once you get past that, you're going to come out 10 times better. So that is very, very true. And then, so, CL, to take us a little bit off of course, what's an embarrassing moment that you had? I know that all of us have had one. So what's your embarrassing moment?
I think my most embarrassing moment, it happened a long time ago. I was maybe 25 years old, and I used to work for UPS, the shipping company, and we used to park about 2 blocks down the street, and then we would walk to the building because there wasn't any parking spots at the building for the employees. And this one morning, I parked the car and I'm walking to the building. And I saw this older gentleman come in, this white gentleman, and he was about maybe, 10, 15 steps in front of me. And as soon as I saw him, this voice said to me, "Tell him good morning." And I was like, "No," because, to me, he seemed like he was quote unquote slow, like maybe he wasn't all there mentally. And then I thought to myself, like, what if I said good morning to him and he doesn't say it in return? I'm going to feel embarrassed or feel, So anyways, I kept walking forward, and he got closer, and I made up my mind, like, I'm not going to say good morning to this man because he may not say it back to me. And as soon as we were, like, parallel to each other, passing each other, he said good morning. And, man, I felt so small and so embarrassed. And I said good morning to him afterwards, but I just felt like to put it like this, my entire day was just shot because I couldn't believe that I didn't say good morning to this man because of all the things that I was thinking about him, you know what I mean? So I was embarrassed, and then I just kind of felt too also like, there was a life lesson in that moment that I was supposed to learn, and I failed that lesson, the whole judging a book by its cover.
By its cover, exactly.
Yeah, so... speaking about books, that we're both authors, and every book can be read. Every book has something in there for somebody. You may not like it, but there's something in there for somebody. And I was presenting his book, and I tossed it, and years later, I would talk about that moment, and I would still feel the same embarrassment and the same feeling of failure that I had that morning. So that was like the big one for me. That I don't think I'll ever forget that moment. And that was about 15 years ago. Yeah.
But you can chuck it up to a lesson learned at this point. I mean, It's one of those things where I know. Well, me personally, I mean, I'm from Georgia, right? I'm literally
Uh-huh.
born and raised in Georgia. There's one thing that has been like really really big in my life with my family. They always say, speak and smile to everyone. Doesn't matter. Nobody's
Yeah.
a stranger. I mean, of course, you don't run up to them and give them a hug and everything, but at least speak and smile and be cordial because you never truly know what somebody may be going through, and your words or your smile may help. And I can tell
Yeah.
you there, personally, there's been plenty of times where I've gone to, speak to a person. They didn't say anything. And I was like, well, whatever. Hopefully, whatever, they're going through, they'll feel better.
Right.
But I do make it a point to make sure that I speak to everyone. But I have experienced what you have before, but just
Mhm.
like in the reverse sense where I have spoken and haven't had any feedback back. But at the
Mhm.
same time, it's one of those things where it's just kind of like you just have to roll with the punches at that point. Nothing you can do, right?
Like, absolutely.
Yes. So another thing, just to kind of wrap it up here, real quick, CL. What is your dream project, and what are some upcoming projects you're working on?
My dream project is a project that I've had in mind before I started to write, and
Mhm.
that is to start a nonprofit to help children. That's been on my spirit, my heart for a very, very long time, and I still think about it all the time. That one day I will start it, and I sort of wasn't sure where what I would do for kids. I thought about, since I'm into computers, I thought about like having like a lab where we teach them certain type of computer skills and stuff like that. But I think now that I'm writing, and a lot of times I wonder to myself, like, where would I have been in my writing if I had started when I was a child? Because I've met people
Right.
and they're like, oh, I've been writing since I was 6, since I was 10, since I was 15, and I
Mhm.
was 30, So I think I would like to start an organization um, uh, centered around the arts, because I think the arts are super important for everyone in general, but especially for children. Teach them how to express themselves, and if I could, do something along those lines and do like some creative writing type stuff for kids, that is like my goal project. As far as for the here and now projects I'm
Mhm.
working on, I'm for my third book. I'm working on the audio version for that book, because ever since my first book, I've been asked so many times, when are you going to do an audio version? And so finally, I'm working on that now, and I have I've also been writing as well, so I have about maybe 2 or 3 books that I'm working
Okay.
on simultaneously.
Wonderful. And
One
now
of
the
those,
book that you're going to do an audio on, let me back up real quick. Is that the Awakening the Trinity? That's the one that we're going to do the audio book on?
yes, that one.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's going to be
wonderful.
something special.
I can't wait. Cannot wait. Sorry about that.
Yeah,
I just had to
David.
make sure. I was like, hold on, let me ask.
Yeah, that's one. And I'm also working on a novel. And actually, when I decided to write a book, um,
Mhm.
the first book I was trying to write was a novel.
Okay.
And just to to go back and show you, when I said I knew nothing about poetry,
Mhm.
because I went to a friend of mine and I said, who the hell writes poetry, like publish a book of poetry? And she was
Right.
like, are you kidding? And she gave me 4 books. She gave me Letters to My Daughters. She gave me The Rose That Grew from Concrete, Tupac, and like 2 more books. And that's when I started doing the poetry book. But before I started my first poetry book, I started writing
Mhm.
this novel. It's not officially titled yet, but I think it's going to be something special. So I'm also working on that. Maybe the 2 or 3 years before that one gets released, and so those are the things that I'm working on, and sort of looking forward to the project of fatherhood. And just
And that's going to be an amazing project.
yes, looking forward to it. And God knows what else I'm going to write just from that experience,
You
because
will. You'll
I
gain
find
a lot.
myself already writing.
Right. Just about,
Yeah.
her growing and everything else, right?
Yeah, and I sort of, I think I think what I want to do is I want to like compose like my experiences with her, my emotions, things I'm going through, and at some point I'm gonna publish a book just in her honor, and sort of present it to her at some point in life. I'm not sure when, but that's another project I'm gonna work on too.
That's beautiful, CL. Well, CL, we're going to go ahead and take a quick break here. And then, listeners, when we come back from the break, CL is going to have a lovely surprise here for us. He's going to perform a piece for us. So I'm going to drop you guys this quick track. It's called Mood Music by Evil Needle. We'll be right back after the break on the Naturalista Experience. All right, loves. Welcome back to the Naturalista Experience. As you all know, we have special guest C.L. Brown on the No One Knows a Poet podcast today, or the No One Knows a Podcast series today on the Naturalista Experience. He's going to come back online with us and perform a wonderful piece. So make sure that you're tuned in, you have those speakers turned up, and you're ready to listen because you're going to be amazed, loves. All right, C.L., are you there, love?
I'm here.
All right, wonderful. And what piece are you going to perform for us today?
I'm going to do a piece in the new book, Awakening the Trinity, and this piece is called Holy Ground.
Okay, wonderful. Holy Ground. Go ahead, my brother. You have the stage.
My most beloved, I marvel at the construction of your temple. Finely architected and layered in unearthly colors, you reveal the most exquisite details of heavenly places my sublunary eyes have ever witnessed. You are my place of worship. And so as I submit supplications between your inward and your outward selves, perusing the perfect symmetry between your soul and your unclothed body, it is quite evident your Creator was well versed in the understandings of sacred geometry. Beloved, you are fine art in all the intricacies of all your dimensions. So I surrender my sinful nature at the center of your most holy, repeating like a mantra the sacred sounds rising from your crested soul as I gracefully make divine love to it. And like the chakra, I rose from your lowest self to your highest self. And when the singular point of enlightenment had fully come, we ascended, when with understanding I placed my lips between your eyes, witnessing the passing of the man and you before the day the universe conspired for me to find you. My darling, the birthing of the lightning was our souls forsaking the orbit of God as we descended into the realm of flesh beneath the watchful eyes of darkness. My love, you are the embodiment of love. And thus I prostrate myself before you, giving devotion as both my lips and my tongue rehearsed the notes that gave cadence to the sweet song I composed from the muffled sounds rising from your satisfaction. And at night, as you make sweet love to me, I adorn your nakedness with poetry far exceeding the mastery of Michelangelo's artistry. And so, my heir, I lie often in the silence of you, lips immersed in the gentle flow of you, ingesting life, dining on the fruit of you, learning the secrets of your garden that compelled me to fall for you. Holy ground.
I love it, CL. That was beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And that was Holy Ground, you said, right?
Yes.
Holy Ground and Awakening the Trinity, folks. So make sure that you all check that out. And CL, shout out your social media. Tell our listeners where they can find and follow you.
You guys can find me on Instagram at author CL Brown, AUTHOR CL Brown. Same handle on Twitter and goodreads.com/author CL Brown. Also my website, www.authorclbrown.com. And my books can be found on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books and Books, all over wherever they sell books. The first book is titled Loud Whispers of Silent Souls. The second book is titled Bare, as in naked. And the third book, Awakening the Trinity.
Oh, thank you so much, CL, for coming on the show, and thank you so much for sharing everything with us today. Listeners, make sure that you reach out to CL. Make sure you follow him on social media, stay up to date with everything that he has, and support him on to his next dream and goal, because that's exactly what this show is about. CL, I want to thank you again, brother, for coming on the show, and we will definitely touch back base. I hope you have a blessed, wonderful night, and I hope these 3 weeks come so quick that way you can have that beautiful baby girl in your arms, okay?
Thank you so much, love. I appreciate you, and I appreciate the platform, and all you guys tuning in. Thank you so much. You all have a wonderful night.
Thank you, CL. You too, love. Have a blessed night, and you take care.
You too.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, love. So always, as always, remember, No One Knows a Poet is going to be an official podcast series that will air once a month on the Naturalista Experience. Subscribers to my Patreon account will have the ability to come on air and be interviewed and showcase their work on the Naturalista Experience. Just go to patreon.com/Katy_Naturalista to sign up. Remember, it's a great opportunity to emerge authors, poets, and artists. So let's keep the creative juices flowing, love, and keep the artistic word alive. Before I close out today's show, I do want to bring up one little thing that was coming up that was in the news. It's actually not a little, but big thing. We have had 2 celebrities actually, take their own lives this week, by suicide. That was Kate Spade and Anthony Bourdain. I hope that those 2 actually have found peace, with their death. I really hate to hear that something like that happened. I do want to let it be known that, suicide is not a joke, people. I did see a few posts on social media that actually felt like it ruptured my soul. A lot of people were being brutal. A lot of people were like, oh, they should have took the whole family. That is horrible. I mean, come on. We are all humans. A human life is a human life, and nobody's is less than another's. So, again, I want to tell everyone, pray for the families of Anthony Bourdain and to Kate Spade, because those were 2 joyful lives that they lost and that we lost as a whole. Anthony Bourdain, I must say that, you were a great inspiration to many people. And Kate Spade, you were a wonderful, wonderful fashionista that touched many people. So, again, loves, thank you for listening into the Naturalista Experience. Make sure that you guys tune in Saturday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern next week. Katy, Naturalista out.